Here's a story. Odell Beckham to Tommy in Tampa. Initial reaction, what is it?
I love it. I love it. And look, Tampa Bay is a totally different situation than everywhere else. And Tom Brady is a totally different situation than everybody else has. And guys that may struggle in other organizations or may not reach their peak in other organizations, with Tom, it's not going to be like that. You know, if you're going there, you got a chance to win the Super Bowl. And you know you're working with the greatest quarterback of all time. And you know if you do the right thing, he's going to get you the ball. So the level of motivation with every player is as high as it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think to have another explosive playmaker like Odell, I mean, dealing with Odell and Antonio Brown and the list that goes on, that's rough. That's rough.
You're a defensive guy. I'm not sure you just got, I mean, seriously, it's like Kansas City on steroids. It's like the Chiefs on steroids. There's just so many, you can't double anybody. You can't roll coverage over on anybody.
No, and everybody's probably going to be open. Like, take your pick, because those guys are raw. They're just hard to deal with. They're hard to deal with.
So Greg Bedard's a legitimate reporter. He's been in Boston area forever. When he says something, I usually believe him. He reported this morning, Jimmy Garoppolo is far and away the Patriots' plan A, which is funny because he's on another team. What do you make of that?
I don't know how it's plan A. First of all, I don't know how anybody knows what the Patriots' plans are, because the only people that really know are Bill and maybe Ernie Adams at this point. So to say one guy is plan A, he's plan A because everybody knows that he used to play for the Patriots and he could be, on the street. So that makes him plan A. But you can't go into an offseason talking about another team's player as plan A unless you've got some kind of deal in place. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense to categorize it that way.
All right. So Jalen Hurts. So here's my theory. If you're going to draft a quarterback in the second round and it eventually gets your coach fired and your star quarterback traded, if you draft another quarterback, Philadelphia at number 6, so you're telling me your number 2 pick last year, you overdrafted. Because if you draft a guy, these days quarterbacks are ready to play much sooner than they were 10 years ago. So if you draft Jalen Hurts in the second round and he gets your coach fired and your star quarterback traded, and then you're going to draft another quarterback, it kind of tells me optics. If I'm a fan, I'm like, my team doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, don't you have to get him weapons? They're not a Super Bowl team right now. Don't you have to just get him weapons, roll him out for 16 games and see what you got?
Well, I read the report today that said that they want to go all in on him. They want to help him be successful. I just don't know how you can do that at this point. You look at how he played, and there were some good things, but there's a lot more good things that Carson Wentz had done over the course of his career there, and they moved on from him. The report coming out this strong at this point in the year, to me, feels like maybe they do want a quarterback, but they want everybody to think they don't want a quarterback. Maybe this is one of those things where they tell everybody, yeah, we're great where we are. We're not interested in any quarterbacks, so that when they're sitting there at 6, people aren't going to jump over them and try to get their guy. It's hard to imagine saying we're going all in on a guy that they have such little exposure to, and the new head coach doesn't know it all.
Yeah. We were saying this morning with Sam Darnold, he appears to have a market. Washington, we're in March. They don't have a quarterback, and they don't have a good draft pick to get one. Chicago has Nick Foles, but Matt Nagy wants to move the pocket around. They liked, actually, Trubisky's ability to be an athlete. They just didn't love him as his throwing skills. And then, New England's got their situation. And I look at Sam Darnold, and I think, San Francisco reportedly, John Lynch liked him when he came out. Is there a best fit for him?
Yeah, I like him where he is. I like if you feel like you're going to get legitimate draft value for the guy, and that he's worth a 2 or he's worth whatever your market is, and you're not just trying to move him. Why wouldn't you keep him? You've changed the head coach, so you're going to get a different environment. You've got a ton of draft capital. What do they have? 2 1s, 2 3s, 2 5s. You've got a ton of cash. You're in a division that has all young quarterbacks. It's not like Buffalo has that division locked down. Why wouldn't you see whether or not this can work. Take that second pick in the draft, trade back, get even more capital, and build a young, talented team that can compete for the long term in a division that really is wide open.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this theory at you.
Okay.
Seattle lets go of Carlos Dunlap, clears up almost $15 million of cap space. They send out a letter to their season ticket holders about the upcoming season. They put all their star players in it, except Russell Wilson. Okay. They're clearing cap space because if they move Russell, they have so much dead money, they're still viable. They're not going to sign Chris Carson, the running back. Carlos Dunlap's gone. It's my crazy theory. They won't put him in a newsletter to fans. Pete Carroll moved Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas the minute they went public. That's not Pete's thing. You go public, you're gone. Is that Seattle is getting ready to move him and clear as much cap space as they can so they're not getting crushed this year with a cap. Think I'm nuts?
I think you're nuts. They were middle of the pack in cap space. They had like 11 million in cap space the last time I looked. So cutting him they're not going to cut him, but trading him is going to cost $39 million in dead money. So that's that would be the highest dead cap charge in the history of the NFL on top of Carson Wentz's 31 that they just saw. So you're going to have to move a lot of players around in order to move on from Russell Wilson. It doesn't make financial sense, especially in this environment where you don't really know exactly what the cap is. It's going to be a down year from a cap perspective. And is it what he's doing that bad? It's a starting quarterback that can bring you to the Super Bowl. At some point, you just got to get over it. Like, if he's a little bit unhappy, okay. You know what's going to make you really unhappy? Losing a ton of games with a quarterback that can't play. That'll make you really unhappy.
Okay, so I'm not a quarterback guru, although...
Are you, aren't? You play one on TV?
Smart Alec. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of this now. I think there's a difference between a prodigy and a prospect. And Andrew Luck was the first quarterback I ever said on the air, can't miss. That's going to be great. And by the way, he won 11 games in 11 games with an awful roster. The second quarterback I'm going to say that about is Trevor Lawrence. Listen, as long as their offensive line is not the Jets, he's going to win a bunch of games. Now I'm hearing, oh my God, the Zach Wilson guy. Oh, he may be better than Trevor Lawrence. And my takeaway is when we anoint somebody great as a freshman, all we do for the next 3 years is nitpick him and look for the new flashy guy. If you look at Trevor Lawrence, doesn't he look different than everybody else in the quarterback field?
Well, what I love about Trevor Lawrence is TD to interception ratio. And you and I have talked about this a lot. It says that this player makes good decisions, and he consistently makes good decisions. And the numbers have been good every year that he's played. And that's been one of my concerns with Sam Darnold is it shows a pattern of decision making that's solid, and that's hard to teach. As much as you try to teach that, it's not a skill that is easy by any stretch and comes with a lot of experience. And now you push a guy like that in the NFL where he's going to be exposed to volumes and volumes of coverages and variations, and you like his chances to continue to make good decisions. That's one of the things that I love about the guy.
By the way, you were a defensive guy and a special teams guy and a secondary guy. If you had to draft a quarterback, who would you lean on? Or would you say, hey, listen, I face him. I'm a defensive guy. Like with quarterbacks, when you're running a team like you were Belichick when you were with him or Parcells, and you make these big decisions, do you lean on people for certain positions? Like if you're not a quarterback guy, you coach defense, who would you lean on?
Well, you try to, you're going to talk to the offensive staff. You're going to talk to the offense coordinator. And then you look at your scouting staff. And every year, good organizations should go through and look at their scouts and see what their hit rate is. And typically you have guys in your scouting staff that are better at some positions than others. So one guy may be really good at O-line and is terrible at defensive tackles or defensive line. So you disregard, or you don't disregard, but you kind of put his D-line reports to the side, and you put more merit in the place where he has strength. You look, there's tons of studies, there's tons of psych evaluations. There's so much information that you try to get certainty from, but then you have Tom Brady. Then you have Aaron Rodgers going where he goes, or take your pick, Russell Wilson. As much certainty as you try to get, you just don't know. There's still an element of sheer luck to this, which seems ridiculous, right? It seems ridiculous for the amount of time, money, effort, and experience that goes into evaluating these guys, but they're kids. They're kids.
Yeah. I saw Dak Prescott. I remember seeing Dak Prescott, and I said he's a way better version of Tim Tebow. He feels like an NFL athlete. He throws better than Tebow, but I'm like, I wonder if I could use him at tight end. I really like Dak Prescott. I watched him at Mississippi State. And then I look back at it after he had success, and I'm like, well, God, he was under duress. They had bad offensive lines. He was getting crushed at Mississippi State. And then I go look back in hindsight, and I'm like, yeah, I should have seen. He was basically carrying an entire program on his back, which is essentially a real strength of character and judgment. And what has he done in the NFL? He's got this intangibles, character, and judgment. And I just saw him as, he doesn't throw a very pretty ball, but what I should have seen is, God, he was
right,
getting crushed. He was getting crushed. He had no offensive line help, and he was carrying a program, getting dinged and hit. So I just saw the wrong stuff, right?
Well, it's the same when watching Russell Wilson. I remember writing down, I don't know where this guy's going to fit on the team, but I want him on my team. And because his size was a real concern, and it was hard to project him being a starting quarterback, but he did so many things really well and popped in so many different ways. And you heard about what a good person he was and the intangibles, and you're thinking, how do I get this guy on my team, even if it's not going to work out at quarterback?
Yeah. Eric Mangini, beautiful Ohio. It's a great day in Ohio.
It is sunny today. It feels like fall here, which is an upgrade from winter. It's a nice fall day today here, Colin.
In March. Great.
Yeah, in March.
Eric, good talking to you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.